All right, today we are going deep, right down into the body's chemical engine room. We're on the hunt for a process that's happening silently, maybe even in you, right now. It's the glucose spike. And no, we're not talking about the kind that gets you a diagnosis. We're investigating the ones that fly completely under the radar.
I mean, think about that for a second. We count on things like pain or exhaustion to tell us when something is off. But what happens when the damage is microscopic? When it's purely chemical and totally silent? Okay, let's get into it.
So over the last few years, this piece of tech that used to be exclusively for managing diabetes has just exploded into the mainstream. I'm talking about continuous glucose monitors, or CGMs. Suddenly, thousands of people without diabetes can get a minute-by-minute live stream of their blood sugar. And this has created what some are calling a widespread obsession with avoiding these things called glucose spikes. But is all the hype really warranted?
To figure that out, we first need to get a baseline. What does a healthy, normally functioning system actually look like when it comes to blood sugar?
Let's start with a really crucial number. A major study that looked at healthy, non-diabetic people found that on average, they spent 96% of their time inside the normal blood glucose range. That's right, 96%. It tells you that, for the most part, the body's a master at managing this stuff.
And that, right there, is the million-dollar question for this whole investigation. If our bodies are running smoothly 96% of the time, what's actually happening on a chemical level in that leftover 4%? You know, those brief moments after a meal when glucose shoots up and comes back down, does it even make a difference?
To find out, we have to forget about how we feel and go straight to the source, deep inside the engine room, at the cellular level where the real chemistry happens. And there are 3 key processes you absolutely need to know about.
First on the list is oxidative stress. The best way to think about this is like a kind of biological rust. When your glucose spikes, it can trigger the overproduction of these really unstable molecules called reactive oxygen species. And when these guys outnumber your body's built-in antioxidant defenses, they start doing damage to pretty much everything they touch. Cells, proteins, even your DNA.
Second, you've got a process called glycation. This is basically a slow-motion caramelization of your insides. Seriously. Excess sugar molecules can just randomly latch on to proteins and fats, creating these gunked-up compounds called advanced glycation end products, or AGEs. And over time, these AGEs make your tissues stiff, brittle, and less functional.
Now, the fallout from both oxidative stress and glycation often lands in the same place: endothelial dysfunction. The endothelium is this super delicate, one-cell thick lining of all 60,000 miles of your blood vessels. It's your body's entire plumbing system. When it gets damaged, that system starts to fail, and that is a well-known first step on the road to cardiovascular disease.
Okay, so we've got these silent chemical fires breaking out. But do they ever trigger any warning lights on the body's dashboard? You know, signals we can actually feel?
And this is where it gets really murky. Over on the left, you have the official medically recognized danger signals for sustained high blood sugar or hyperglycemia. Things like crazy thirst, constant urination, blurry vision. But on the right, you have a whole different world of symptoms. The field reports coming from wellness blogs, social media, and CGM users. We're talking energy crashes, brain fog, mood swings, even acne. So where's the line between hard science and online chatter?
Well, lucky for us, a recent scientific review decided to tackle that exact question. Researchers did the hard work of digging through both the peer-reviewed medical journals and what they call gray literature, which is basically blogs, websites, and magazines, to see where the two worlds line up and where they don't.
And here it is. This is the big reveal. Look at the top. Both the medical literature and the online world agree on the core chemical problems. Spikes lead to oxidative stress, and over time they can contribute to insulin resistance. Total agreement. But then, look at the bottom half. The medical literature they reviewed was silent on things like energy, mood, mental health, and skin health for people without diabetes. Yet those are the main things you hear about online.
The study's authors really hit the nail on the head. They said that these gaps highlight the potential for misinformation. Now, they're careful here. Just because science hasn't studied it yet doesn't mean it's not a real experience for people. It just might not have been rigorously tested, but it does mean we have to be really careful to separate what is scientifically proven from what is, for now, still just anecdotal.
So let's wrap up our investigation by focusing on what the evidence does point to. What is the real long-term danger here for someone without diabetes?
And the critical takeaway is this.
The science isn't really freaking out about that one slice of birthday cake you had. The primary threat has a technical name, glycemic variability. It's a fancy way of saying a constant blood sugar roller coaster, up and down, day after day. It's the pattern of these spikes, over months and years, that really seems to add up.
And this is the pathway of that cumulative damage that the science supports. The constant spikes fuel that oxidative stress we talked about, which damages our blood vessels. This then promotes a state of chronic, low-grade inflammation all over the body. And over time, that whole process can just wear out your insulin system, paving the way for insulin resistance and, potentially, much further down the road, type 2 diabetes.
Which kind of leaves us with one final big question. We have these incredible devices now that give us a constant stream of data from inside our own skin. But as we've just seen, that data doesn't always tell the whole story. Maybe, in this age of information overload, the real challenge isn't just managing our biology, but learning how to tell the difference between a real warning signal and just background noise.